My name is Lottie and I am the court clerk for this hearing on the 25th of May 2022. I'm joined by my usher Kiva. This case is in relation to offence of GBH, which is grievous bodily harm. GBH incidents involving two people, which are Joe Foot, the victim, Ethan White, the defendant. Joe Foot is the victim of the alleged knife crime that could have cost his life. Ethan White is the alleged attacker. Charlie Burrows will be defending Ethan. Ben Dawes will be prosecuting Ethan. I will now introduce Your Highness, Mr. Justice Ewan Crosby. Please stand and welcome to the
Please be seated. My name is Justice Ewan Crosby for the prosecution of Ethan.
Yes, Your Honour. Hello, members of the jury. I am Ben Dawes, the legal representation of my client Joe Foot, and I'd like to put into perspective the serious implications of this heinous crime. And I would like to present some of the evidence towards the jury. Ethan White's DNA was found at the scene on a cigarette dated between 1:15 and 1:36. And just to remind the jury, the attack happened at 1:25 a.m. And plus, my client's blood was found on Ethan White's jumper, which was found in a bin. And I would like to ask the jury to look at the evidence and help me convict and bring justice to this heinous crime. Thank you, Your Honour.
I hear defence's open statement.
Good morning. My name is Charlie Burrows and I'm the defending barrister of my client Ethan White. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today is a case of the GBH of which, sadly, my client has been embroiled by of no fault of his own. This is no more than a mere misunderstanding, and through the evidence I'm going to present, I will prove that my client has no involvement in this alleged altercation. We, the defence, wish to state right here at the beginning of this trial that no one in my client's life has ever stated him to be violent or aggressive physically or verbally. Thank you.
The prosecution, please go on the first witness.
The prosecution would like to call Alex to the stand.
Please follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the friend of the victim, Alex Deeming, to the stand.
Do you just want to tell me about the events of the early hours of the morning on the 30th of April?
Me and two other friends had gone out for a few drinks.
Who were these friends?
Joe Foot and Connor West.
Connor West. What happened that night?
We finished having a drink, so we were just leaving. And as we walked down the street, Ethan White approached my friend Joe, looking very aggressive.
What happened after that?
So Ethan had a friend, so I kind of stood his friend aside, started talking to him. I heard a bit of commotion, and then the next thing I know, Joe was on the floor, holding his body.
Can you confirm what happened?
It looked like a stab wound from what I could see.
Stab wound. Can you say roughly about what time this was?
1:30-ish.
And how many drinks had you and my client had?
A few, but not enough to warrant.
Would you say enough to cloud judgment?
Not enough, no.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honour.
Your Honour, I'd like to question something. Would you mind telling us, did you see my client wielding in this alleged altercation a knife?
No, because when he approached, I stood aside to talk to his friend, Gabriel.
Please follow me.
Prosecution, please go on the next witness.
The prosecution would like to call Zara to the stand.
Please follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the
and
truth.
nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now the introducing Zara Freeman to the stand. She overheard the commotion from the flat.
You say that you overheard the altercation over the flat, from your flat. Do you mind just telling us what you saw, what you heard?
I was just in my flat and I just heard the commotion. I just thought it was just drunk people walking home, so I ignored it. And then later on, I looked out my window and see what was happening.
When you looked out your window, did you see a man wearing this hoodie?
From what I could see, yes, but it was also very dark.
May I just remind the jury, this hoodie was found with my client's blood on and Instagram photos from 2 months ago showing that Ethan White was in possession of this jumper. No further questions, Your Honour?
Please follow me.
Prosecution, please go on the next witness.
The prosecution would like to call Connor West to the stand.
Please follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare,
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the friend of the victim, Connor West, to the stand.
How long have you been mates with my client?
Since secondary school.
Secondary school. So, would you say he's normally like to get feared in a scared situation?
Yeah.
Does he normally tell you about everything that's going on in his life and?
Not that stuff. Like he's had a fight with someone.
So just tell us about the events of that night.
So we went out drinking early in the morning. It was about 1:30. We were walking down. We approached Ethan, and things got heated. And next thing I know, he stabbed my friend Joe, and he's on the floor and he's run away.
So can you confirm, Ethan White, the defendant, you saw him stab my client?
I can confirm.
Can you confirm the jumper in evidence was the jumper he was wearing?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honour?
Your Honour, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. You recently just testified that your friend Joe Foot, the prosecution, had an assault with a previous, let's say, member of the public, other than an alleged assault of my client. Do you want to explain that, please?
I don't know much about it, but got in a fight with someone at secondary school.
So, is this the case related to his previous convictions of assault?
Potentially.
Would you mind telling us what you saw my client? What you saw my client? Sorry. Would you mind telling us what you saw my client wielding on the night of the 30th?
Held a knife.
So-
Not like a pocket knife.
Pocket knife. So you say you saw my client. on the
Question,
same
Your
attack.
Honour. Objection, Your Honour. Asked and answered.
Well, your previous statement, your statement contradicts your friend's previous statement of you didn't see my client wielding a knife. Any further questions, Your Honour?
Prosecution, have any further?
The prosecution would like to call Ethan White to the stand.
Please follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the defendant, Ethan White, to the stand.
Ethan, do you mind telling me what you were doing in the early hours of the morning on the 30th?
Early hours of the morning, the 30th, I was in bed.
Is anyone can corroborate this or?
My dad and my brother.
I would like to also go into with the DNA that was found on the scene on the cigarette. placing your DNA timed between 1:16 and 1:36, which puts you within the time of the scene, puts you on the scene, on the crime scene.
No comment.
I would like to also ask you, is this your jumper in evidence?
That is my jumper, yes.
Can you explain how my client's blood ended up on your jumper after the altercation?
Well, when I was walking home after a night out with my friend Gabe Roberts, I spilled something down it, and obviously on the way while walking home I threw it in the bin because obviously it was ruined.
So, can you explain why both witnesses previous have identified you on the scene of the crime?
Can I answer that? No.
May I also ask the text messages between you both? Even though, may I speak to Joy, it isn't illegal to have an argument with somebody over Snapchat, but why did you think it would be alright to take it one step further?
I believe he messaged me first, and he started the altercation through Snapchat.
So why did you feel the need to attack my client?
He pushed me first, I was acting in self-defense.
Self-defense. My client pushed you and you felt the need to stab my client. This man had been in the hospital because of your actions. No further questions, Your Honour.
You should have any further ones.
I'd like to call Gabe Roberts to the stand.
Swallow me. Please finish hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the friend of the defendant, Gabe Roberts, to the stand.
Even what has said that he was with you that night, do you mind telling us what you were doing that night?
So I picked Ethan up at his house
Around what time?
around 10 o'clock-ish, around that time. Went to...
Was this on the 29th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we went to Jet Garage, me and Ashby, like cigarettes. Then we went to Spoons, had a few drinks, had a meal, and then went home.
Went home. What time did you go home with Ethan
I
White?
took Ethan home, yeah, around
Ethan.
11:30.
11:30.
Yeah.
So you can't corroborate anywhere after that?
No.
Did you have any idea about the text messages between Ethan White and my client?
Yeah, I did.
No further questions, Your Honour?
Your Honour, I'd like to quickly examine the witness.
Allowed.
Good morning, David Roberts. Would you mind telling us the behaviour and mannerisms of your friend, my client, defence, Ethan White?
Would never touch fire.
Never hurt a fly?
No, not a bad burn in the body.
He's never assaulted anybody?
Never, ever.
You never seen him ever be physically
Nothing.
aggressive?
He's always
violent?
tried to dim down the fight or potential fight. Always tried to reason with the person.
So you would say that he is a kind, caring, nurturing person instead of the monster he's being portrayed as?
Definitely.
Thank you, Your Honour. No further questions. Prosecution have any further witnesses?
I'm going to call Jake to the stand.
Please finish hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do some solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the defendant's father, Jake White, to the stand.
When your son was arrested, he was found with marks on him from the night before. Do you know how he got these marks?
Couldn't tell you now.
Do you know where your son was between the time 1 a.m. and 2 a.m.?
I believe he was home in bed.
Did you see him? Did you?
I thought I heard someone return at about 11:30, and I assumed he'd gone straight up to bed. I was working in my garage, so
So it would have been possible for him to leave the house and you not notice?
possible.
No further questions, Your Honour.
Please follow me.
Prosecution have any further witnesses?
One more witness, Your Honour. Sam Morgan.
Please follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare,
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare,
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the defendant's brother, Sam Morgan, to stand.
When your brother left the house, did he have any marks on his face? Anything like that?
No, not that I've seen.
So when he was arrested and found with marks on his face, is there any reason he would have had them?
Not that I know of.
Between the times of 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., did you see Ethan White at home?
I did not.
Did you, was it, despite the jury, I would like to say, no matter what the defence will say, just because his golden squeaky pass doesn't mean he cannot commit a crime. Thank you, Your Honour. Questions?
Please follow me.
Prosecution have any further witnesses?
The prosecution has no further witnesses, Your Honour.
Defence, please call their first witness. The defendant would like to call Joe Foot to the stand.
Follow me. Please place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare,
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare,
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the victim, Joe Foot, to the stand.
Good morning, Joe Foot. Well, tell us what happened in the early hours of 30.
Me and my friends are walking home from the pub, and Ethan comes up and confronts me, and it just escalates from there.
So, do you mind telling us who these friends were?
Alex and Connor.
Were you drinking before this alleged altercation?
Yes.
Do you mind telling us how you reacted to my client's allegedly attacking you on the night?
I pushed him away.
Can you tell us why?
He came up to me very aggressively, and my fight or flight kicked in. I thought he was going to attack me, so I fought back.
So you speak of fight or flight. Were you afraid of my client attacking you?
Correct.
So you were afraid in this fight or flight stance, and you decided to fight a man who, again, jury, was stated to have a knife by the prosecutioner's friend. Which, again, why would you fight someone who, as you previously stated, has a knife?
At the time, I didn't have it. No, he had the knife.
So you didn't know he had a knife at the time, but you still felt threatened of my client, who, again, didn't start this altercation, alleged, but you decided to push him away anyway. Do you want to tell me this why?
I felt threatened. It doesn't change the fact if he has a knife or not.
So, did you have a chance to run away if you, let's say, were so frightened of my client? Did you have a chance to run away if you were so scared?
There's always a chance I could, but for me, no.
Did you mind telling us why?
I was scared. Like I said earlier, my fight or flight kicked in.
So, if you were so scared of fight or flight, you couldn't run away?
Correct.
Your Honour.
Prosecution would like to cross-examine witness. Before this event, which the defence hasn't brought up just yet, but you have had a previous conviction, haven't you?
Correct.
Do you mind telling me how old you were when this happened?
I was 15 at the time.
15 at the time. How old are you now? May I remind the jury.
18.
Would you say when you were 15 that was a poor cause of judgment? Would you say you've changed? Would you say you've matured?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honour?
Defence, please call the next witness. The defence would like to call Gabriel Roberts to the stand.
Please Please hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the friend of the defendant, Dave Roberts, to the stand.
Would you mind telling us again the defence's judge of character? What is he like?
Would her fly again, as I said before, not by burning his body. Always try to dim down a fight if there was a chance of having one. Always try to reason with most people actually, or if obviously he doesn't have a chance of reasoning with them, he leaves a situation.
You just said you just spoke about in your statement reason. You would try to reason with them before attacking them or assaulting them.
Yeah, so to try and like calm them down, make sure nothing gets out of hand.
So if this alleged assault did happen, would you say instead of, let's say, verbally assaulting someone, you would try to calm them down and talk to them?
Most definitely, yeah. Obviously, it's it'd be a Saturday morning, Friday night, so everyone's obviously got ready, had a few drinks clearly, and so yeah, I'd hope I was there. So yeah, I thought he did try to reason with them. Then after Joe had started.
Objection, Your Honour. This is completely different from his witness statement. He said he left his Ethan White at his house.
What's going to change the story? Which is a great story again. No comment.
Your Honour, I would like to get that struck off the record.
Please. And I'm going to remove from the stand. You've lied. For sure.
Please follow me.
Defense, please call this witness.
The defence would like to call Katie to the stand.
Please follow me. Please put your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing Katie Bennett to the stand. She was intoxicated and passing by the scene on the night of the incident.
Do you mind telling us what you remember of the night of the tragedy?
I remember me and my friends celebrating my birthday in Spoons. We went out for a couple of drinks, a meal, just had really a good time. We went home early hours in the morning, I can't remember what time. We was walking up the road and in an alleyway we saw some pushing going on and we just carried on walking, we didn't want to get involved.
That statement. Do you mind having a look at this jumper in evidence we have? Do you mind telling us, do you think this is a common jumper, not a, let's say, visibly unique jumper?
I'd say it's a common jumper.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Defense, please call the next witness.
The witness would like to see the stand, please.
Please follow me. Please put your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
and affirm that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Now introducing the defendant's brother, Sam Walton, to the stand.
Good morning, Sam. Do you mind telling us what you remember on the night of the 30th?
On the night, well, leading up to the alleged attack, I was playing Xbox. Brother went out, had a few drinks with his mates, and then come back.
So, could you explain to us what your brother was like?
He's normally caring. When my mum died, he kind of stepped up, looked after me, caring.
Took the motherly role.
Yeah,
Kind of caring.
yeah,
Careful, all that sort of stuff. would be the monster he's being portrayed as?
No.
Have they known him to be physically or verbally violent or aggressive?
No.
Chris Spencer, please call that next one. Prosecution's closing statement.
I speak to the jury. You need to help uphold this court. This man is clearly guilty. The evidence has shown it. We placed him at the scene. He is admitted to the owning of the jumper which had my client's blood on. The text messages is this man is guilty, and we need to bring justice to this heinous crime. And I ask the jury to help me. Thank you. No further. I'm done.
28 Francis closing statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you can see, my client is a kind, caring, nurturing, motherly figure in the eyes of the witnesses I have called today, and is not a monster as he's being portrayed as. I would like to remind you that no one in my client's life has ever called him monster, verbally aggressive, or violent, ever. Thank you, jury.
Before I ask you to go on a break, I must remind you to disregard anything Gabriel Roberts has said, as he has been caught lying. And I must ask you to take a break and consider the evidence. Come back with a result.
The jury has decided that Ethan White is guilty.
I sentence you to 8 years in prison with no chance of parole. Case closed.